2020 was really my first serious year of bow hunting. I had grown up with my dad shotgun hunting since I was about 3 or 4. Kind of dabbled a little bit in bow hunting throughout the years, but never really got into it a whole lot until after college. Life kind of got in the way, college got in the way, so I never really got to have a straightforward season. And Dad was a pretty serious bow hunter, and he really enjoyed it, and he upgraded his bow, and so he gave me his hand-me-down. Well, like we all know with hand-me-downs, it doesn't necessarily fit you exactly how you want it to. My bow was too long for me. I could draw it back, but I just couldn't shoot it consistently. So this fall, my husband went and bought me a brand new bow, and I was really excited because it was one that actually fit me.
You're watching Victory Outdoors, proudly presented by Expedition Archery.
So this year I bought LaKoda a new Expedition, especially after last year. She struggled throughout deer season with confidence more than anything. She was shooting a bow ultimately that was just too big for her, and she didn't know it. I mean, she was new to bow hunting, and most people don't understand, most new bow hunters, I should say, don't understand, what a bow is that fits you, like what poundage it should be at, the draw length, etc. And her draw length was definitely too long. So it made that anchor point inconsistent. So even though target shooting, she could really concentrate on it and be fine. But when it came down to the moment of truth, you just didn't know where that arrow was gonna go, and it cost her a couple of deer. And anyway, so this fall, I made it, top priority to get her new bow, get her new Expedition, and build that confidence and get 8 deer under her belt.
My husband surprised me in September with a new Expedition bow, and our buddy Chris helped me get it all set up. We spent a lot of hours tuning it and perfecting it and shooting it to get it to fit me exactly how I needed it to, and got me the confidence I needed in my bow. So the first weekend of opening weekend came about, and our heart was set on getting a doe. We had a bunch of sits those first couple weeks, and we had does come in, but just never close enough for me to take a good shot on them.
It is October 2nd, first weekend of bow season here in Iowa. We've been getting pictures pretty regularly of this buck that I named Snapper. Hopefully we'll see him tonight. This year's already shaping up to be a better year. We get married in 28 days.
I'm stuck with her.
Yeah, forever. Just got down here from teaching school today, hustled down to make it out, and we had a buck come on camera last night and thought we'd have a go at it. We got here, sat maybe a minute or two, and a doe and a small buck come out of the field. They're about 200 yards from us right now eating. So hopefully we have a scrape right underneath of our tree, and hopefully we start seeing a little bit come look at this scrape. So we'll see how it goes.
This segment is brought to you by HuntStand.
The beginning of the season did not go as planned. Typically when you're hunting for bucks, you'll have does come by you. Or when you're hunting for does, bucks will come by you. And that was kind of the story this season. The first few sits, we just wanted a doe. And we would see them, we'd see some small bucks and stuff, but by golly, they would not give us a shot. And for whatever reason, these does would just keep slipping by us.
As we get into the season, we decided to hunt our most reliable stand. This stand is over a white gold clover plot, and a lot of the deer come in this early season to eat on that clover, and so we headed out there to see if we could get a doe. Like clockwork, 2 does came out at about 45 yards and were coming for the clover plot. I got my bow and got ready to draw back, and at that time Ian's phone went off and it spooked the does and they took off.
Where this blind is located, I mean, it's great for last minute hunts because the access is pretty much bulletproof. You're staying completely away from the bedding area and we're right on the edge where all the food is. This blind is tucked in the corner and we get a lot of north and west winds. So anything that comes from the west where the big timber is, you know, we're bulletproof. So that's typically what happens. They come from the west, or from the northwest, and as long as we're in that blind, those deer aren't going to even have a clue in the world we're there.
So the morning of the 16th, we didn't get to go out to the deer stand. We had to go cut logs for our wedding. And so we were hoping to get back at an earlier time to get set up at one of our other farms, but we didn't get back till later in the evening, and we got back to the house and Ian looked at me and asked if I wanted to go out to the family farm. And I said, let's go get a doe.
Pretty regularly, you know, if you want to get some meat in the freezer, it's a place to go. But once in a great while, there will be a good deer that shows up. Coincidentally, this one buck that was there was a double main bean buck. He was really cool. He was actually a 9-pointer last year. I had a lot of trail cam photos of him. He was a good 4-year-old, and we kind of hunted him a little bit and didn't have any encounters. But this year he surprised me. He put on like a 20-inch main beam, and last year it was like 2 to 3 inches long. So that was a pretty cool thing, but other than that, there were some other really good mature deer there, some mature 8s and whatnot, but honestly, our goal was just to get LaKoda a doe.
This segment is brought to you by Element Outdoors.
So as we're sitting there, daylight's fading, we still have not seen a single deer, and I was kind of just getting down on myself, like, and the streak continues, no does in range once again. And next thing I know, I look over to my left, I'm like, that wasn't there before. And it kind of just, something didn't look right, but thought it was a magic thing, so I pulled my binos up, and sure enough, that double main beam buck was literally standing right there, looking right at the blind, and kind of checking out his surroundings, and headed right our way.
Here we are trying to wait for a doe, and out steps our #1 shooter of the farm.
I told LaKoda it was him. She grabbed her bow, got ready, and it was pretty cool. He came up the fence line, up this little lane, right to the clover plot, and started working on these scrapes. And it was cool. LaKoda couldn't see him, but she could hear him paw on the ground and the leaves rustling.
The scrape line, because his scrape is right here to the right of the blind. So you may shoot him right below the blind here. Here he comes.
So I could see him out of the left-hand window, and I was able to get my bow ready and take my time and collect my nerves. I was pretty nervous at that point, and Ian kept reminding me that I needed to breathe, take my time, and be patient. And so as he was making his way across that left window, Ian was finally able to see him and was able to get footage of him walking and eating in our food plot.
It was perfect. He came in and it wasn't gonna be, you know, a 40-yard shot. It wasn't gonna be, you know, limbs in the way and stuff. This is about as textbook of what we had wanted to have happen.
Yeah. Baby just killed a giant. You just killed a freaking giant, baby. Get another arrow, get another arrow.
At that moment, Ian and I were celebrating and super excited, and after we had finished him off, I immediately got on the phone and I went to call my dad. I knew that my dad would want to celebrate with me, and he was my first call I made.
I just shot a big buck. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, 20 yards and he got him.
Baby, that is a slammer. Are you kidding me right now?
Oh my gosh. Oh man, I got stickers.
This deer is the #1 shooter on this farm. Family's 20 acres. And this is our 3rd or 4th hunt this year. I'll be honest with you, this is her first deer with a bow. Are you freaking kidding me?
He's so cool. He's freaking cool.
Nice work.
Broke the whole arrow.
There he is. Oh yeah.
That double beam is just so freaking awesome.
That's sick.
An extra point there. I'm marrying this girl, and you know what? I'm not a dragon, it's fine with me.
When it first happened, I really didn't know what to think. My mind was racing and I was still in shock. But once we went and got our friends and I was able to actually get my hands on that deer, the emotions hit me. I was like a little kid in a candy store. I was hooping and hollering, and that night I was on cloud 9. I never thought I'd be able to get a deer like that ever in my life. I never thought that I could get a deer, period, after the year I had before. But finally able to get a good deer under my belt was one of the most amazing things that I've ever done in my life. Here he is. Last night I shot my first buck with a bow. I shot my first deer with a bow. It was pretty exciting. He came in, came within 16 yards of us. He started off making a scrape for about 5 minutes, and we were patient, let him come in, and he kept eating on our clover plot that we had planted, and came within that 16 yards, and Ian told me he was on him, and I took a breath and I shot my first arrow. So we ran down to finish him off and put another arrow in him. We get married here in 2 weeks and couldn't have thought of a better wedding present.
This segment is brought to you by Reveal by Tacticam.
So a couple nights after the wedding, I had gotten home at a decent time, and Ian and Jake were headed out to another farm to try to fill their buck tags. So I decided that I would take my doe tag and go across the road from our house to our food plot and see if I couldn't get a doe. That night, I decided I wanted to try self-filming, and I realized it was a lot harder than it actually looked. I get up into the blind and go to getting everything set up, all the cameras, my bow, me, and during all this, I had 2 does come into our food plot, and they had busted me the first time and they took off. And I didn't think I was gonna get another shot at them. And about 10 minutes later, they circled back around and they came right in and came within 20 yards of me. At that time, our reveal had gotten pictures of them, and Ian had the account and saw that there were 2 does right in front of me. So I was able to draw back and get the camera set on these does, and I was able to take my shot, and I landed a perfect shot on the doe, and she ended up taking off running, and she flipped twice, and she was dead. At that time, Ian got all of those pictures, and he texted me wondering what was going on, and I was able to call him and tell him that I had a doe down.
Proud husband moment. LaKoda just sent me a Snapchat that she just shot, will be her second deer ever with a bow. She just self-filming herself shooting a doe at the house in the food plot. I'm out with Jake tonight, and absolutely awesome. She freaking smoked her, hard shot her. Best part is, you can see right here on the reveal, you see the doe right here in the background, plowing dirt. She absolutely smashed her through the shoulder, and she's down in the boot plugs. Well, it might be packing up soon. You go and help her celebrate a little bit. Her first deer on her own family farm. It's awesome.
So I could see out of the window of the blind that the doe was dead and she was down. So I decided to crawl out of the deer blind and head over to see her. And I self-filmed as I was going across our food plot, and I heard a stick break about 100 yards off. And I look up, and there is a nice 3-year-old buck walking across the hillside wanting to come into the food plot. At this point, I'm standing out in the middle of the food plot with a camera in hand, and I realized I didn't have a bow with me, I didn't have a tag, nothing. And it was really surreal because he just kind of walked around the ridge and was coming into the food plot. At that point, I looked to my right, and there's an even bigger 4-year-old buck standing right there watching me, only 20 yards from me. So I froze, did not move, and was trying to get footage because I knew the guys were not gonna believe that I was 20 yards from a deer, and they've been out hunting for the last month. Me. So here she is, second deer of the year. My new bow is hitting hard, and it was an awesome hunt, and first time self-filming, and it was a lot more difficult than what I thought it was. Definitely have a lot more respect for the guys that go out and self-film every day. I felt like it was a circus in the stand, and it happened in about 2 minutes. Didn't even have time to process what was going on. So very cool hunt, and excited for next year.
With season winding down, it was late muzzleloader, and all I cared about was killing a mature deer. All right, well, it's muzzleloader season here in Iowa. A little windy today. Just trying to get a good deer down on the ground this year, and it's Christmas is right on the corner too, so I don't know what time I'm gonna have to hunt, but today's the coldest day this week. We're gonna hold tight and see what happens tonight. We'll find out. Well, on the 8th, we got a picture of a big 8, a giant 8, that we had pictures of all summer, and it was October 5th, he disappeared. On January 8th, we got a picture of him about 2 hours after dark. And I kind of was like, well, maybe I'll just go hunt there tomorrow because it's better odds than anywhere else I have on camera right now. I don't have anything showing up. Guess what the 9th is? It's a year to the date that I killed fair game. So it's middle afternoon. I'm gonna go ahead and just head out there and just hope I can get a shot at something. Self-filming, and sure enough, I get out to the farm, I go walk, I set up. I kind of just stand there, and our tower blind blew over, so I was just standing there looking around at cedars, trying to decide where to sit, and I look up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the big 8's walking out of the fence line. And I didn't even have a primer in the gun, my backpack was on with the camera in it and everything, and it was like, my thought process was, okay, Ian, get a deer down this year in general, or B, pray he comes back that evening, and maybe some way off chance he'll come back and get a crack at him just so it's on film. Well, I said heck with it, put a primer in my gun, got up, he was about out of my line of sight, and I managed to put a great shot on him. Right here's where
see where it kicked up right there? Blood immediately all over. Probably 150 is where he was at. There he be. Look at that sucker. That is a giant 8.
Man, it was really cool to be able to just put an exclamation point on an absolutely amazing season. Not just for me, but our household. You know, my now wife, you know, managed to kill a 163-inch whitetail with her bow as her first deer ever. Then self-film, you know, her shoot a nice doe on our little piece of heaven here. And then I managed to go out and kill a big mature 8. And honestly, I wouldn't trade for anything. It was the best season I think I've had to date. Every year somehow we managed to top it, and this year was no exception at all.
Ian and I are incredibly lucky that we're able to do this together. We found something that both of us enjoy to do, and we're excited to see what these years ahead of us have in store for us.